So I don't call you Jim because I'm thinking
Hello.
of Jim Morton.
Happy Wednesday to everyone. Welcome back for another episode of Brand Experience Live. My name is Ashley Pineda. I'm one of the hosts of Brand Experience Live, where we dive deep into the brands that are doing things right in terms of providing amazing experiences for their candidates, employees, prospects, buyers, and investors. And as usual, I am joined by my amazing, wonderful friend and co-host, Lagla Mike.
Hi, how's everyone? Happy Wednesday.
So today we're going to be talking with Justin Davis, right, Lagla?
Correct, yes. Well, welcome Justin Davies to our Wednesday's podcast. We are so happy to have you here. So Justin is a talent acquisition manager at JM Family Enterprise. So I understand it's a long run business. So if you're familiar with South Florida, then you know about it. So I'm obviously foreigner, so I'm looking forward to finding out more about the business. But why don't you tell first all about yourself a little bit and how you got involved with this business?
Yeah, for sure. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me. I've
Yes.
watched you guys' other podcasts. It's cool just to see the people you're bringing on, and honestly, the impact it's having, in the community. So
Thank
Thank
happy to
you.
help.
you.
And again, it's an absolute pleasure for me to be here. How I got into recruiting, it's probably how most people get into it. It wasn't planned at all. I don't know of any sort of educational or professional degree focus that is on recruiting. In fact, most people that go to school for HR typically aren't really interested in recruiting. It's
Yeah.
it's it's very separate. Long story short, I had a school assignment where I had to put my resume out online for my one of my professors to go review. I did that and got a call from a recruiting company from a company called Aerotech from their Fort
Uh-huh.
Lauderdale office, and they wanted to recruit me for a position to actually sell cars at AutoNation here in South Florida, actually like an
Oh.
online car sales consultant. Um, wasn't interested in selling cars. However, I hadn't really been on a professional interview process before. So like, I'll go through the interview.
Good.
Um, went through 4 interviews, was actually offered the position, and I turned AutoNation down. And Aerotech wasn't the happiest, but my recruiter, and I'm gonna shout out, her name's Chelsea Klutz. She's no longer with Aerotech, but she was amazing throughout the entire process. And so
Yay, Chelsea.
yeah, I actually asked Chelsea. I was like, "Hey, I didn't want to sell cars, but I really like what you did here. Like, you're helping people, right? You're helping people find jobs. You took an
Yeah.
interest in me as an individual and what I was looking for. I would love to do something like that." She's like, "We're always hiring." And so I interviewed at Aerotech that next week, and I got a job the following week. And
Amazing.
yeah, right. And so that was 12 and a half years ago.
Wow.
Wow.
I spent 6.5 years on the agency side, helping, from the outside, helping companies when they might have challenges or strategic initiatives that they didn't have the resources to do. And then
Hmm.
was referred into JM Family through some mutual contacts. I wasn't looking for a job then, but
Awesome.
got a call that they were looking, and it's like, I'll have a conversation, and led to other conversations. And now last week was my 6 year anniversary
Well,
at
Oh,
JM.
happy anniversary.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
That's
wow.
amazing. I love the fact that you were referred to JM because I'm a local South Floridian, and I'm also previous agency and corporate recruiter. And let me tell you how many candidates I've spoken to over the years that have called me up just to specifically say, "Hey, can you get me into JM Family?" I'm like, they're a steel box. They don't work with agencies, and if they do, you're really special because no, this doesn't happen. They're amazing. It's incredible to hear that you had that opportunity. From what I know about JM, especially from being a local, I mean, you guys are legacy company to work for
Yeah.
here in South Florida. Like, people go in and they don't come out, and that's not a bad thing at all.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting, right? We built the foundation. It goes back to our founder, Mr. Moran. He started the company with the tagline that our associates are the most important asset, and
Mm,
that has rang true throughout the history from when our company started in 1968 up through today, where business
wow.
decisions, strategic decisions that are made, it's always made through the lens of how it's going to impacts the people that work here, right? How is it going to even have an impact on the greater community? We do a lot of
Yeah.
philanthropic efforts in the community and things like that as well.
Yeah,
Um, and you're right, the tenure, we have people still employed at the company who worked with Mr. Moran and still carry on that legacy and tell those stories. And so
that's
there's
so
just
cool.
this natural cultural building like through osmosis, right? And just through
Yeah,
through storytelling and learning. So it's amazing.
that's
Yeah, that's good.
incredible.
And it sounds like it's sort of like the starting the story from a founder, and obviously all these different generations. Probably like my father worked there, my grandfather worked there, and now myself, working there. So it could be like that for some families. So,
Yeah,
so
we have families all over, and we have to sometimes tell some family members no because based upon where their parents or their family member works, if they're like in the same area, you can't have that sort of same
Oh
reporting
wow.
structure. So there's always that sort of nuance with it. But you're right, we have institutional families, right, that are here as
yeah,
well, and
That's so
I have
cool.
I have two kids and would be blessed if it one day if my 6-year-old and my 9-year-old would call JM family their family, at some
That's so
point down the road.
cool.
Yeah.
yeah. That's great, but I know you don't refer to your employees as employees; they are associates. So when we say now employees, yeah, we actually mean associates for your business. But why they started to actually call them associates? Was it something to empower the people who
Mm,
joined the firm, or like not to just call them employees? Why is that?
Yeah, I think the term employee can have really a moniker of just a
Hmm.
number, right? You're just
yeah.
part of a bigger cog in the wheel, right? And when you think of an associate, it's someone who does have a part in it, right? They're part
Mm,
of, they're cared about it. They're not just a number. They're part of decisions, and the company is going to make decisions with those associates in mind because our associates again are the most important asset, right? When we
Hmm.
hire better,
ding
when
ding ding.
we retain top
Yeah.
talent better, right? There's
Mhm.
all sorts of studies, Harvard Business Review, McKinsey that talks around, how much more profitable companies can be with better associates, diversity, things like that. And so when we treat our associates, we do keep them, right? We keep the good
Yeah.
people where they
Yeah.
do get a call from a recruiter and they're much less likely to leave, right? Because
I've I've been there
yeah,
calling
right.
your
Hmm.
people.
Listen, so when I was on the agency side, I went on Jamie actually used to be one of my customers. I went on 43 meetings before I got the first position to work on.
Oh my
And
Wow.
gosh.
43 meetings, it was persistence, hopefully professional, hopefully not annoying, but we would have to
Definitely a
go back and talk.
salesperson.
Yeah, have to go back and talk to some of those leaders before I got the first person in there. And the reason why I targeted JM is actually just like you said, I used to try to recruit people out of JM and no one would leave. And so like, well,
Yeah.
listen,
Hmm.
if no one wants to leave, it means everyone wants to be there. And so if
Yes.
everyone wants to be there, that's a company I want to do business with. And
Yeah.
so I went on 43 meetings until I got the first position. I filled it, which was great, and so got my company at that point set up to support JM. And it was through some of those relationships and things like that that I saw firsthand where even when I wasn't looking for a job, when I was referred in,
Yeah.
because I had gotten to know even from the outside looking in who JM was, who the caliber of people were. It's like I want to be a part of that, right? I want to be surrounded by those people because they're going to challenge me and make me better, and hopefully I can bring something as well, right? To continue to build on the culture and to help out our associates.
That's
First thing for
incredible.
me, like I just noticed, like the pride you talk about the business is so great. And I know
Yeah.
it's not coming because you work there, but it's something you truly believe and love, and it's like your
Yeah.
core inside you. So it's like for me, as sort of like outsider, I noticed right away about it. That's so great. And I truly hope that the other employee. Oh, you see, that's I'm sorry, with that
Associates.
associates feel the same way. It takes me some
Yeah.
time, so just associates. So tell us what makes this whole experience great for
Yeah.
JM associates.
Yeah. So I'll share personal stories. I think a lot of times those
Okay,
can resonate versus higher
perfect.
level. So my third day on the job. So this would have been September 28th of 2016. Third day on the job, still don't know really anyone from, anyone else. It was about 3 o'clock in the afternoon, and I saw about 50 people in the building that I was sitting in, um, getting up all together and walking out. And so I'm like, the building I was in probably had around 300 or so associates, and so that's a big majority, right? That's
Is this
going
a
out. So
walkout?
well, so
Oh my
I poked my
gosh.
head out. It's my third day in, right? I poked my head out and I asked, one of my colleagues, one of my associates there, is like, hey, is there a meeting? It's my third day. Like, was I not on an invite or things like that? And she was like, no. She was like, there was actually an associate whose husband had unexpectedly passed away the week before.
Oh,
And so these were all individuals that were going to go to the funeral to support this associate, support her.
oh,
Oh wow.
I just got chills.
And so again,
Yeah.
me not knowing anything, right? Me not knowing anything, I was like, I just made a comment, wow, like she must be like a leader or something like that for all these people, because she was in a different business unit, right? She must be a leader for
Mm,
all these people to go out, right? Thinking it might be an optics
Mm-hmm.
play or whatever, right? And the individual I was speaking with said no. In fact, most of these people might have only been on email chains with her at different times of the year, didn't really even have any direct interaction, but we're a family and we want to go out to support her. And so, like,
wow.
that was just from my building. So at that point, I was ruined, right? I was like, wow, this is my third day and I'm seeing a community of people. Again,
Yeah.
we're not perfect. No company is, there's better departments, things like that than others. Um, but a community of people, of just good people working towards common goals that
Mm,
care about the individuals, right?
that's
Yeah.
And
that's right there.
yeah,
That's
and
it.
so from that point, what else can I say, right? And so when I've had candidates ask me that, I share that personal story, and there's others I can
Yeah.
share, right? But that was something that resonated with me and that has stuck with me to this day. And there's people that remember that, and it was incredible to see.
And that's the thing, that's a story you tell, because that's going to be always, and it's a personal story relating to the company. And I think that's the best sort of like what we call it secret, like a secret sauce in order to tell story about the business and people who
For
work there,
sure.
So that's really amazing.
And
Wow.
relate. Yeah. And so, I mean, you're obviously you're over talent. And I'm sure, just in my experience as a previous recruiter, there's internal experiences that
Mhm.
you utilize during the onboarding process and during the recruitment process. What is it that you all, when you are recruiting, like what are you looking for in new people to join your team? Is there something in particular as far as the way that your teams work together, or the common goals that you have, or the experience in general with employees that you want to maintain and make
Mhm.
sure that culture stays? Like, what is it that you talk about or look for during the interview process and the onboarding process to ensure that culture maintains?
Yeah. It's interesting. You use the word maintain, and I don't know if it's
Mhm.
necessarily maintains, right?
Yeah, that's true.
We have our five core values and pillars that we operate
Mhm.
in.
Hmm.
And so that's the framework, right? And so communication, for example, is one of our core values. Well, based upon the person's role, their communication might be different, right? If they're not up in front of
Mm,
people doing presentations,
Yeah.
if they're more of a
sure.
technical document or a code or things like that, it's different. And so what I work with my team, and I have a team of 8 that report directly to me, is we want to find individuals that can contribute and can add. And
Mhm.
Hmm.
understanding where culture is today and what's brought us to success, that's absolutely the foundation. And what do we need to hire moving forward as our
Yeah.
business evolves, as the economy, as just society in general,
Yeah.
evolves, right? And so we look for individuals that have a growth mindset, that are willing to grow, right? Are willing to even sometimes challenge the status quo, right? I can speak specifically on my team, and I tell people on day one, it's a right idea wins mentality. I
Yeah.
don't care if it's your first day, if it's your 10th
Yeah.
year, I don't care what I don't care what my title is. If you have a better idea, we're going to run with it, right?
Mm,
Because
Mm.
that's
yes.
what is going to be in the best interest of the individual and then the
Yes.
collective. And so we want
Yeah.
individuals that can do that and have that sort of, I would say, courage to speak up, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And A lot of that though comes from, our team having to work with our HR peers, work with our, business leaders, things like that, to
Mhm.
understand the strategy of where the business is going. And Ashley, I'm sure you can speak to this. Like, I can't create a recruiting strategy without knowing what the business strategy is, right? I can't
Of
just
Correct.
say,
course.
here's what we're going to hire. I need to understand and work with our leaders. Okay, great. What do you envision our organization to be like? What's the intersection of people, process, and technology? And then
Yes.
we can help you get there through that sort of talent lens. And so it's a strong partnership. And again, just finding individuals that can continue to add in the challenge of status quo. And again, I can go back to the studies around, focus on diversity, right? And
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
diversity of thought, ethnicity, background, experiences, everything, because bring that into an organization, there's fresh ideas, the organizations,
Yes.
financially produce more. And it's a much better environment.
Gosh,
Wow.
that's amazing. I definitely understand and can relate to needing to know the business unit's strategy or the business as a whole, or where things are currently at, especially when you're dealing with a higher caliber of candidate where your expectations are different, right? You
Sure.
have different conversations. Most likely they're asking challenging questions.
For
If you're
sure.
looking for the right people, they're asking challenging questions that
Mm-hmm.
are asking you, okay, what's your revenue? Where do you want to be? What did you do last quarter? What does your team look like? How are you going to make me better? And
Yeah.
how am I going to grow within your organization? When individuals are asking you that as a candidate, and even through the beginning onboarding process, and after as associates, um
Mm-hmm.
what do you guys have anything in place for like continued education, or financial education, or helping them reach personal goals, or
Yeah.
how are you contributing to their personal lives outside of work?
For sure, and that's huge. And before I answer that, the one thing you mentioned, it reminds me of just marketing, right? There's a whole customer journey, right? There's a whole awareness
Yes.
to consideration phase, right? Of
Yep.
of
Yeah.
what the candidates are evaluating, and they're coming so much more informed. There's so much more information readily
I
available,
know.
and so we as a team, not just the talent acquisition team, but the interviewing team, the hiring managers aren't able to answer some of those questions, those high caliber candidates that would add and build on our culture and
Hmm.
also be excellent from a technical standpoint. They're not going to feel welcome. They're not going to feel
Yeah.
that they can have an impact. To specifically
That's
answer
true.
some of those things, we have, education, right? We have an education
Mm-hmm.
assistance program. We have a partnership with FAU. It's called our Next Grad program. Love the siren in the background. Hopefully, it's not coming from one of you guys.
Oh my goodness.
um, but
Emergency.
yeah.
Hope
um,
whoever that is okay.
yeah,
Yeah.
but
Hopefully.
we have education assistance that's eligible on day one for both undergrad and graduate programs. In fact, I'm actually back in school right now at the University of Florida. I'm
Wow.
taking I'm
Oh,
taking an
cool.
AI and machine learning class right now. I'm
Oh my gosh.
learning Python programming, and I'm say learning loosely. I am I am learning how to pass the quizzes. I have a midterm coming up this week. So I can speak to that again, that personal impact of how we continue to
Yeah.
invest, in the education. And there's other certification courses. We have
Amazing.
every associate, has the opportunity to create their own IDP, their own individual development plan that they're going to share with their leader.
Awesome.
That's not just on like the yearly goals. There's obviously yearly business goals that are tied into, the merit review process and things like that. But this is, longer term. Hey, this is who I am. Here's who I want to
Mm-hmm.
be, right? And what are the
Yes.
steps to help me get there? And then I would say humbleness with that. And I have, some individuals on my team where I know I can't provide them everything, right? Like I don't
Hmm.
know
Yeah.
everything. There's some things I can provide from a development standpoint, but who are the mentors? We have coaches within our
Yes.
organization. We have, affinity groups. We have things like that we can, connect and, do things like that to really continue to invest in the individual. And that's what we see right now. What we see just in the candidate marketplace is
Yeah.
even candidates going through a process, they want to know what it's going to be like for them, the individual, right? They want
Yes.
to know what does this mean for me, right? Coming onto this
Yeah.
team, how am
Hmm.
I going to grow, right? How is this going to position me
Yes.
for whether it's personal, professional development? What can I learn? What can I share? What can my impact be? And
Yeah.
so we're just transparent as possible. And again, sometimes you don't have the right answer, right? And then,
Hmm.
individuals have to make that decision. But we'd rather be transparent and lose someone, because knowing that that's going to be the best thing for them and the best
Right.
thing for us, right? And then focus on the individuals that are going to fit within what we need and where we want to grow.
I read somewhere that the big percentage, I think it was around 70-75% candidates believe that this recruitment process they're going through, it also reflects the way the company actually, I think, kind of treats associates later stage. So they find that recruitment stage is very, very important because it reflects the company back to them, So, yeah, how do you,
Yeah.
do you agree with that?
100%. I think Glassdoor did a study a few years ago that candidates that have a positive interviewing experience are 11 times more likely to purchase a product from that brand. Which, I mean, if you think about that and the exponential, this year to date, we've had 28,000 applications,
Oh
so
my
far.
Gosh.
So now, listen, hopefully all of them had a positive experience. We know realistically there's always opportunities, right? But if you think about, again, that just sort of, exponential, factors of that, right? And so we recently just wrapped up some work, some consulting work with an outside, international consulting firm to even look at what our interview process is. And we really looked at, 3 areas. We looked at, hey, we want to reduce time to fill. But
Yeah.
in order to do that, we want to improve the candidate experience and improve the hiring manager experience, right? Because if we improve both of those experience, if we focus on the experience, and everyone knows, has those individual touch points, is working within the right swim lanes, it's naturally going to get better people through the process more quickly. And so we literally just wrapped up that work. It was about a 2-month engagement, and then some members of my team were working on rolling out sort of a training roadmap for the rest of the team and for the greater part of the organization, because it's a continual investment, and it's an iterative process, right? As we think of the pandemic, things that we used to do pre-pandemic, right, with working arrangements, things that's changed, right? And so it's a continual, iterative process that we won't rest on, we won't settle. We'll continue to solicit feedback and work on improving.
How much do you actually attract talent outside South Florida, obviously, because you're a very well-known brand in South Florida, but how much do you attract talent outside South Florida through communication you have, obviously website, different, obviously, social media platforms?
So it's interesting. So JM Family is headquartered in South Florida. We have, multiple brands that have really national presence, right? And across some of the other areas. So we have a brand, Southeast Toyota, which is a business partner of Toyota and operates in the 5 southeastern states. We have a brand, J&A Group, that sells automotive finance and insurance products, and we're in over 3,800 dealerships, across the U.S. And we have, I think, around 12 or 13% market share of all those products sold, in the U.S. So we have those individual brands that people know us through, but then JM Family, that's really here in South Florida, right? And so, we've invested a lot within, our corporate communications team, our social media pages, things like that, to, do sort of the cross branding between the different business units, right? And we have a huge intern program. It's sort of, our bread and butter within our TA space, where, this past year we hired 66 interns. Previous year, even during the pandemic, we hired 54. The majority of those weren't from South Florida 2 years ago, right? They were remote, across the US. And so it's a constant challenge, and we're having to focus on that more, right? Just as talent becomes harder to find, and again, looking, through that lens of diversity, if we're just looking in one place, right? We're limiting, ourselves as a company, we're limiting, the sort of candidates that we can attract. And so we do national searches, we, do advertising on, LinkedIn, Indeed, Facebook, Instagram, et cetera, to try to get our brand out there as much as possible. And then recently, we've been in a high growth mode. We've acquired 3 different companies within, I think, the past 75 days,
oh my gosh.
that are based in, I think added I think around 300 or so headcount within those acquisitions. We acquired a company called Futura Title and Escrow based up in the Northwest, and a couple other organizations. So just through some of that sort of natural acquisition and growing, our brand will continue to grow. But it's never going to be perfect. We always have to put more effort in.
That's
But that's the thing. If
incredible.
you have to go, yeah, it's just normal. It's you evolving, like
For sure.
as we all grow. But I really like, before you mentioned this, how JM Enterprise really encouraging people personally develop their brand, because I think that was our one of the topics as well last week with our guest. So saying that the companies who don't allow candidates, associates to grow internally, build a personal brand, missing out a lot, because obviously the value they can add. So that's super nice to hear that, it's highly encouraged, and obviously people to find the talent and build that personal
Yeah.
side.
And we have a specific affinity group focused on it as well. It's called Rising Leaders, and it's really focused on individuals that do want to grow in some sort of that
Yeah.
impact, that exposure, things that they have different events and podcasts and networking events and speaking engagements and things like that, and so we do focus on that. And, I think even from our leadership teams, we're a humble organization and not perfect, but we are about giving other people exposure to even projects that I'm, maybe something I spearheaded, right? Well, I want to give someone on my team the opportunity to present out or to elevate their sphere of influence and get some of that learning thing that was provided to me, because without some of that exposure, how are they going to be positioned for that next step, right?
Yes.
And so through just natural day-to-day work, we as an organization always invest in our associates that way, as well as really putting them in stretch opportunities in a safe way, where if they fail, it's not career limiting, right? But before they can fail and learn from it and can grow from it, right? And then get some of those exposures and growth and have their voice, have that personal brand.
Everything that you're saying is just like music to my ears. I mean, and like, me, and I feel like most people watching this know me and what I advocate for. I absolutely advocate for the ability for personal growth through authenticity. And I believe, and I'm totally biased, that the associates or, elsewhere employees, that they are the key to success for the long-term growth and revenue of your business. Because if you aren't giving them what they need, whether we're in this climate we're in now, right? Regardless of this, post-COVID climate of individuals having the power, which I think, just based on what I've seen and read and research, they're going to continue to pretty long term. Because of other things going on. But if you are not empowering your people to be better and do better, they cannot evangelize for your business as being responsible, whether they're purchasing their products or they're telling their friends and family, or they're talking about you through their personal brand on social media, or they're the ones actually interfacing with your end user or your end buyer. Everything, every step of the way through every piece of your business will be better if you invest in your employees or associates first. For sure. My honest to God opinion. And I love that there has been implementation in terms of that personal individual growth outside of make me money, right? How can I help you as your employer to be a better person and be happy in your life overall, whether or not you're with me long term? I think I applaud you all so much on preaching this gospel.
And I love what you share there, right? Because also we do have a long tenure within the organization, and we also recognize too that there are going to be some people that outgrow us, right? And so, I have that conversation with people on my team. Like, my goal isn't to make my team of 8 talent acquisition advisors necessarily better talent acquisition advisors. I want to make them better business and personal professionals, so that if in a year they get tapped on the shoulder, or there's an opportunity that's better for them, their loved ones, their family, they're positioned for it, right? I had a meeting with them literally, I think 2 months ago. It's like, hey, I hope in 2 years from now that none of you are on this team, and for all amazing reasons, right? And like, not for performance issues, but hey, like, I want all of you to outgrow this, right?
This is what leaders should want for their team, though. You want them to be better.
And their success is my success, right? And so, like, I looked at it from a legacy standpoint. Like, listen, there's certain technical things that can always get better at, but the one thing that we're blessed with at Jane Family is we have amazing people leaders that do invest in others, and we see that vision, right? Be able to work through others, elevate them, right?
Mm.
And they're going to be the individuals to take us to those next steps, to add to that culture, the business excellence, et cetera. And if we lose them, great, we're going to celebrate that, right? And then it's a story to
Yeah.
tell to that next candidate coming in. Hey, the reason why this individual is no longer on this team is because we developed them to the point
Yes.
where
Yes.
we
Amazing.
couldn't retain them, right? They either moved to another area of our business, or you know what? Hey, yeah, they left the organization, but it's
Yeah.
because of the skills and experience they gained here that they were positioned
Yeah.
for that really unique opportunity for them.
Yes.
And so again, it just all goes back to that sort of individual impact and caring about that person.
I love it. I
Love
love
it.
it.
Love it. Love
I'm
it.
a fan.
Yeah. So beautiful. I know. Oh no, Ashley, we're running out of time again. Such
I
a good
know. I hate this
conversation.
is my least favorite part of the entire
I know.
conversation where I'm like up here, oh my gosh, tell me more. And then we have to go.
Yeah.
Before we go, though, I do want to ask, in your opinion, Justin, working with JM and obviously working with other organizations prior to onboarding with JM and just the evolution that you've even seen in your 6 years, advice to other recruiters or hiring managers or businesses in general of maybe what you guys have implemented that is working really, really, really well. Only one thing, so stop bragging about everything. But something that you guys have implemented that works really well that you think every single recruiter, hiring manager, or leader, business should implement into theirs as well.
Yeah.
Okay.
Good question.
So it's not going to be a process thing, because I think there's lots of processes. There's lots of people who have opinions on that. I think one thing that, that myself and my leadership team have focused on, really in the past year and a half, is building our team the right way and not
Yeah.
settling. We did an emphasis and we looked at, well, hey, how do we need to impact the organization? How do we increase our diversity? Well, let's make sure, number one, that our team's diverse, right? That
Yeah.
we have diverse thoughts, diverse backgrounds, experience, ethnicities that can connect with any sort of candidate population that we're connecting with. And we didn't settle. And, there was a couple of times I had to go have accountable conversations with the team and say, hey, team, we're all going to have extra work for these next 3 months because we don't want to bring the wrong person in. We don't want to get someone in here that's going to have a negative impact on our organization. So I need all of you to work harder for these next 3 months, knowing that once we hire the right person, the wait is going to be worth it, right? You might not see it initially, but we're reaping the rewards of that. Just 2 weeks ago, we set our company's all-time record for the number of hires we've made. We made 801 hires in 2018. We did 802 2 weeks ago, and we have a full quarter to go, right? And so couldn't do that without the amazing team. And so that's what I'd say, like from a leadership standpoint, even from a peer standpoint, is don't settle, right? Identify the sort of person, the framework, the growth mindset that you want for your team.
Yes.
And if it takes an extra month, 2 months, it's going to be worth it, because you get the right person in there. There's going to be tremendous better results, better team environment and culture, right? And again, a better story that you can tell.
And it costs so much less to wait an extra couple of months than it costs to just hire someone and get them in the seat, and then everything that you have to go through.
Yeah. We have that conversation all the time with hiring managers, right? What's the opportunity cost, right? What are we missing out on if we don't do this? Yeah.
Wow. Oh my gosh, totally agree. I love that. So we're going to close up. So anyone who has not connected with Justin, I'm putting his LinkedIn information up on the screen. We put it in the comments as well, so you can connect with him. He's a fabulous human. So even if you don't want to bombard him with an opportunity to work at JM Family, he's a great person to connect with. Just fantastic conversation every time that I talk with you. So please do that. If you're looking for a new opportunity, they're obviously hiring new associates. So I'm sure he can walk you through the process, but I know I'm even more inspired and to evangelize for the brand that I've never even worked at, but over the last, 5+ years myself, just hearing from my own candidates about everything that JM represents and seeing in the local community, because I am local, and seeing the impact. And I'm even more so a fan and even more so happy to refer anyone there, if I can do my own part too.
Yeah. You have a new foreign friend as well. So here we go.
I appreciate it. And yeah, everyone feel free to connect with me. And I'll try to, have whatever conversations I can. And I'll say one last plug. The reason why I'm even here today is I sent Ashley a message, I don't know when, to try to recruit her to JM because she had a marketing background. And so that's how we started connecting is I was trying to recruit her, and then, she was great and starting her own things, her skincare company, which she hasn't plugged, but she has a lot of amazing things going on. But yeah, so there's a tremendous amount of power in networking and just building your brand and connecting with other people. So feel free to connect, and I'll help out however I can.
There really is. And for anyone who, if you work for a brand or own a brand that you genuinely believe that you all are doing something that needs to be shared with other businesses and other leaders so that we can make a difference in the world around us and make experiences better for other people, please contact Lagla or myself. We have also links in our profiles where you can schedule a time to meet with us. We'd be more than happy to explore your brand and promote you as well, because we want to promote the people that are doing amazing things.
Yeah.
So we will be back next week at 12:30 Eastern time on Wednesday. Actually, just Lagla and myself, we've got a lot of catching up to do on what's going on with Ivory Gold. I totally might make a plug for Free Skin and what I have going on as well. But we cannot wait to see you all again next week. Thank you so much for joining us, and enjoy the rest of your week.
Thank you, Justin.
My pleasure. Bye, guys.
Bye.